Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered Wrestling. Now, this week we've got Tim with us again. Hi, Tim. How you doing?
Hi, Lee. How are you?
Not too bad, thanks, mate. This week's question of the week is, Tim,
Who's the next champion going to be?
what for all belts?
Yeah, so I thought I'd ask this question. Who do we think will be the next champion for each of the belts coming up? And by that, I just mean Raw and SmackDown. I'm not going to get involved in NXT because that gets very confusing very quickly.
Okay, yeah. This is really hard because it seems like at the moment, since WrestleMania, there's been so many branches coming off that things could go anywhere. So it's going to be hard to try and pin down where each one's going. So, okay, what one are we starting with?
So let's start with Raw. We'll go with the world champion. Jey Uso is the current champion. Who do you think will defeat him?
I think Logan Paul is defeating him on Saturday Night Main Event because I think Logan Paul is going to be the third member of this Heyman faction thing to bring the heat and have a champion. I then think they're going to stay together for a bit and there's going to be a bit of argy-bargy between Braun and Logan. Braun's then going to beat Logan and then Seth's going to beat Braun. So I think that's the route they're going.
Yeah. Well, so I might have suggested the Logan Paul thing, and I think it works. I don't think he's going to be the third man. I also think the person to beat Jey will be Seth, and that will be coming up shortly. Probably Night of Champions, if I'm honest.
But do you not think it was weird them pulling it straight on at that Raw last week? That whole night was centered around Seth going for Jey, and it was Seth straight away.
I think we're building to a Seth CM Punk title match, and I think that's the only way you can do it is to get that. So I think Seth beats Jey, and we move on to a new program with Jey.
Yeah. No, I'm hanging my hat on Logan still. Ask me again in 2 weeks when Jey's still got the belt.
No, that sounds about right. Next up, we'll go with the Women's World Championship, and that's currently Io Sky. Who do you think is going to take the belt off her?
See, I'm going to call Rhea Ripley all the time. I'm a big Rhea Ripley fan. I know she's been champ multiple times, but no, let's be serious. I think maybe Becky or Bayley once they've had their little feud. I know you said in our last podcast that the Intercontinental needs to be elevated onto a superstar, but I think they're still going to give the big belt to one of the big superstars.
We've also got Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez as well.
Yeah, but Liv's away, isn't she? So it's going to be a little while before she gets back. So are they going to keep the belt on the person until Liv gets back?
No, my pick is actually Bianca Belair. I think she's the one that beats her for it. I think the story for Mania is still left to be played. She's broken her fingers. I expect that one coming.
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense. And they can play into the broken fingers into that storyline, can't they? So that does make sense. Okay, next title.
We'll look at the men's Intercontinental title. Current holder, Dominic Mysterio.
I think it's going to be Finn. I think that's what they're building to, and I think the payoff's got to be Finn winning the belt off of Dom.
I'm with you. I think it's got to be Finn, but the problem with Finn is that's the obvious stop. And there's a couple down the line that I'll mention that I think you might need to pivot a little bit. But yeah, I think Finn's got to win that belt. He's a previous Intercontinental champion. I can't work out which of them, one of them turns face as a result of this, because Dom is still pulling some great heel promos, and Finn seems to be really all over the place. So I don't know which one of them is going to be the face, but I think it's going to be Finn.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Intercontinental, and as I've said, I think that's just going to be Becky. I think it should have been at the pay-per-view. I think it's going to be Becky this time around.
Yeah, I can't. See, it's hard because of when you asked that question about the women's title earlier, because I don't see them as too far apart as the championships because they're not elevating them yet. It's getting better, like we discussed last week. You could put either belt on either and it will help elevate the belt, but there's not enough gap between the world champion and the Intercontinental champion to really care who's got which belt at the moment.
No, I totally agree. Absolutely, totally agree. Well, we'll move on to the tag belts. For the men's, it's obviously the New Day. It'll be really controversial. I think they're going to hold the belt for over a year. I think we're going to hold this belt for a long time. So it could be any of the new tag teams that they form, or people move from SmackDown. So for me, they hold the belt for the next year, and I think we see who turns up on Raw after the draft. I think the other ones could actually be the reformed Usos.
That's a good shout. Because maybe that's where Jimmy goes after he loses the belt, back with his brother, and we have a really good program, the New Day and the Usos.
Yeah,
that's a good shout.
No, that's it. We'll go to the women's tag teams now. It's currently Liv and Raquel. I think this belt moves to SmackDown, and I think you see Piper Niven and Alba Fire are then the next champions for me.
Yeah, I don't know if this was just a sort of bit of clickbait online and that, but there was a picture circulating of Bayley training with the Iconics. So if they return, I think that could be straight away their next thing. Or
well, that could be quite interesting. Ooh, I like the sound of that.
Yeah, I loved the Iconics when they were there. The problem with Liv being away, do you reckon they've just got to keep the belt on hiatus until Liv returns, or do you reckon they're going to have to do the mystery partner thing for the belts to get dropped?
I don't think she's going to be gone for more than a couple of weeks. It doesn't make sense to switch the belt out at that point. I think it'll be kept on the TV with Raquel being part of Judgment Day, but other than that, yeah, I'm not too worried. I think that's where you go with that.
Yep. Okay, then we're jumping over to SmackDown. I'm going to start with the.
Yeah. So we'll start with the WWE champion, John Cena. I think there's only one way in which you can go with that. I think he's got to be Cody Rhodes. I think Cody Rhodes is the only person that can beat John Cena for that belt to return it to where it should be.
No, I don't think John's not going to drop the belt. He's going to take it home, and they're going to have to make a new championship. What John Cena's plan is actually going to happen. So he's my last two champions. So we're never going to have a WWE champion again after that. No, yeah, I can't see any other option than Cody, which is a shame because I wanted John to not have a Cody as his last match. I don't know what I want for John as his last match, but it's going to have to be Cody, and it's going to have to be a title drop.
Yeah, without a doubt. I don't think Cody's his last match. I think, as you pointed out, I think it's going to be John and R-Truth in a tag match. Next, got the women's world champion, who is currently Tiffany Stratton.
I don't know if it's going to be Naomi next, but I think Naomi deserves it. I know that might be a build-up, but with Naomi's work and character building, I think it'd be good to chuck it on Naomi, but I think they're going to chuck it on Nia Jax next.
I don't. I actually think it is going to be Naomi. I think Naomi gets the belt. I think we have that fated four-way match that we will get at some point, and Naomi will probably pin Jade at that point to continue the feud, and she'll become the champion. That's where I think that one goes.
Well, yeah, that does make sense. Again, the branches on that storyline can go off either way, which is very interesting. So, good division on SmackDown the women have got.
I just think SmackDown's currently the better program, if I'm honest.
100% agree with you. Other than the Seth story, I don't think Raw's got much going for it. It's Championship, we spoke about this kind of on our previous episodes, but for this episode, where do you think it's going next?
Solo. It's got to go Solo. I can't see this storyline not going anywhere else. Solo needs the belt. Jacob doesn't. That's the way that one goes.
Yeah, we don't need to go too deep. If you want to know our thoughts to why I didn't go back on previous episodes. And what titles after that?
Well, you got the Women's US Championship with Zelina Vega. I don't really know where we go with this one. My heart tells me Chelsea Green's got to have a second run at it. But at the same time, I think she's ready to move up. So I think here's a real left field. I think it's going to be Charlotte Flair.
I was just about to say this because that little program between her and Alexa Bliss this past SmackDown at the car is obviously leading into a feud, and I think going back to how you saying about elevating titles, have the Women's United States Championship on that feud would elevate the belt up so much. So yeah, give it to Charlotte and let her have a feud with Bliss.
I think you got to remember, like, Ric Flair was one of the greatest US champions of all time. It doesn't make sense not to give her at least one crack at the belt. So I think she's going to be the one to next win it.
And it makes a nice difference because obviously she's just giving woman title after woman title. Give her a different belt and seeing what she does with that. So yeah, I totally agree with you.
And we're just left with the tag team belts. I keep going backwards and forwards because I actually think the SmackDown tag team division is probably the best I've seen it in like 15 years. It's so hard to pick. I'm going to say Fraxium. I think Fraxium are going to take the belts off the Street Profits, but it is one of those. It's really tight. It could almost be anyone. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, going back from our last podcast, Chad and America Grande will be the new tag team of that division, the face, and they will take the SmackDown belts.
I mean, I suppose the other one would be the Lucha Brothers, but I think I don't know how they get the belts for that one for a while.
No, I agree. Faxium, whatever show they go on, I think deserve, like, I know we've only seen 2 or 3 matches, but they're awesome. They're really exciting to see. They're my favourite tag team at the moment.
If you've ever watched them in NXT, and I do recommend people going back and watching some of their old matches, you will just see how crazy they are. They are absolutely amazing. I love watching them.
No, brilliant. Well, Tim, that was our list of where we think the titles are going next. It'll all play out over the next couple of months, so we'll see. We'll revisit this and see where we was right and where we was wrong. Your time and have a good week, Tim.
And you too, Lee. You take it easy.